Tony, he become a divisive person, it seems to me, intentionally. And I hope there was pressure to just get him out.
Really?
Yeah,
I always liked
I
him. He
did.
was such a great guest. Yeah,
Used
we're
to.
on the
What's going on there, guys? We back with another one. Want to talk about Bruce Pearl's sudden resignation, allowing his son to take over at Auburn University, and why there may have been pressure put on him to resign. Bruce Pearl is a basketball coach and the excellence that he saw at Tennessee and Auburn. You know, he's one of the elite coaches. Now, we know about the controversy and some of the things that took place back when he had that recruiting cookout at his house, and then he lied when the NCAA asked about it. You know, he was fired by Tennessee. They docked his pay and all that. We know about the FBI investigation, everything with Chuck Person and all that back in 2017. Well, it was 2017 through 2021 at Auburn. But as far as winning games on the basketball court, Bruce Pearl was that guy. Now, he's come under some scrutiny here lately with some of his political stances. And today, in this climate, it's significant because Auburn, we know they are fast and athletic, and he gets a lot of his wins predominantly on the back of black players. And why is that important? Because a lot of the things you're going to say is going to offend either their parents or them specifically. You know, maybe it don't offend everybody. But you know, we're gonna look at some of the controversies and some of the things that he said. Now, recently, he stepped up in defense of Charlie Kirk, but even back uh, in 2023, I want to say he spoke in favor of Donald Trump. Um, you know, he came out with some pro-Israel views. Whatever side you feel about that, he made it known where his support was, and you have a lot of people have a lot to say about those things. Now, this most recent thing, I think the administration is looking at now. How are we going to recruit after you say this? We're going to play this clip, guys. Let's get into it.
Charlie was a man of faith. He knew where he was going when his time came. I know that's not what he was planning on because he had so much to live for here. Dan, he was leading, I think, the most important revival that was taking place in our country, and that was young, conservative Christian people who were on fire for God, who were on fire for Jesus, who were on fire for this country to help get involved in service and the process, and also began to see just that the other side was so different than how they felt about faith and family and the right to life and so many things that we sort of take for granted as part of our DNA. The opposition is pulling farther apart from us and also getting more violent. And I think the reason why they're getting more violent is because, like Charlie Kirk proved every time he debated and had a discussion, he was on the side of right. He was on the side of good. He was on the side of accurate history and you know, for the most part of what he talked about, and they couldn't beat him. And so they killed him. They murdered him. They assassinated him. They eliminated him. But what they didn't realize is they actually didn't, because he is going to live on. He's going to live on through all of us that followed him, that learned from him. Because here's the deal, Dan. Like, Dan, you are one of the best at what you do. You are. But we all, and I'm pretty good at what I do too, but none of us could touch Charlie. I mean, he had a different gift, and he'll be so missed.
Now, you can feel how you want to feel about wanting a person and everything, but to say he was accurately on the right side of history in every single thing that he said, that's just false. You know, that is just your emotions based off what happened. But he says some things that are tropes and bigoted that does not represent the collective of what he's saying. People of color, I'm speaking of specifically the way that they're depicted. Um, some of the things I've seen him talk to one male that says that some guys on campus were trying to uh, SA him, a group of guys. And he said, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I just don't believe you. And that right there, that one kind of bothered me because that is why a lot of people in the black community, I can only speak for that, don't come out and say what has happened to them because a lot of people within our own community who's supposed to protect us, whether it be from like somebody's aunt, their uncle, or somebody internally, they won't believe it and they'll just keep it quiet. You see what I'm saying? So for him to say that, or, if he sees a black pilot, he wonders if he's qualified. No, I'm inspired if I see a black pilot. So see how we see that differently. So to say he was right on everything would be inaccurate. Now Etan Thomas got in on this topic. Let's check out what he had to say.
The coach where many black parents entrust their children to coach them, to guide them, to teach them about life on and off the basketball court, because that's what a coach's job pretty much does, especially when you're in college. And listening to him, and I've heard him make his statements for the last, maybe few years here, and each one gets worse and worse. Every time he opens his mouth, it gets worse and worse. I would not send my dog to his school. I would be worried about, and it's not just a difference of opinion. When you embrace somebody who is evil, who uses a microphone to literally spray evil everywhere he goes, that's not a difference of opinion. You know what I mean? We have difference of opinion here on the Collision all the time when we're talking.
Right.
We debate. We just go. That is something completely different. What was your response to hearing head coach Bruce Pearl talk about Charlie Kirk?
My response is the same as your response, and it's humanity, right? We don't debate humanity. We don't debate people's humanity. But what's interesting is that, we hear for years from sports and coaches, keep politics and sports separate. And they use that not to say things about when somebody is shot by police, when a black person is shot by police, when there's racial injustice. But all of a sudden, now you get these sports figures coming out of the woodwork. What I would say is, if there's any black player who is thinking about playing for Bruce Pearl, they may want to actually look at Charlie Kirk's actual record before they sign up with this coach. Because Charlie Kirk did say, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. He did say, if you're a WNBA pot-smoking black lesbian, do you get treated better than a United States Marine? Referring to Brittany Griner. He did say, happening all the time in urban America, prowling blacks go around for fun to target white people. It's a fact. It's happening more and more. He said, I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman. I wonder if she is there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action?
Now, my job isn't to go in on Charlie here today. What I will say, as far as a Christian person, make sure that your message is about Christ and, that being the basis of what you're talking about. Don't make it nationalistic. Don't ostracize a group of people. Um, don't look at people based off stereotypes. You have to deal with each individual on an individual basis. You know what I'm saying? So that would be my message for anybody that's leading with Christ. Now, if you just debating and doing what you want, okay, cool. But we should be on one accord, as believers, as far as Christ being the center of our message. Not saying things like if I see a black pilot, I wonder is he qualified. That I think that's pretty crazy. But what I will say is, as far as these players and the issue with Bruce Pearl, potentially not being able to recruit and all that, handing the keys over to his son, it speaks to several things, right? The nepotism there, the power he's still going to have, allowing it to be his son. So basically, you could look at it like he's still coaching, he's still calling the shots, uh, because he didn't want to leave at this point. He was bringing in his new players, and he was going to coach for years on end. But um, So, and he keeps a job. I think he's doing something with basketball operations, or he's taking another position and giving that job to his coach. I mean, giving that job to his son to coach. The players was going to be the problem. Me personally, I would like to see the elite players go to HBCUs. I've been on that for such a long time, but I do understand, having the TV deals, being able to play in front of all the NBA scouts, against the ideal competition. And it's not enough people that want to uh, follow that trend, especially about 10, 15 years ago. I look at it now, though, and I seen something on the other day that really interests me because I'm like, how, as far as HBCU, sometimes obviously the resources and everything isn't there, but how do we get the attention, because now streaming is so different. You'll have people watching an event on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter more than they're watching the live television. I saw the NFL brought in iShow Speed to do the stream along with some other streamers during the NFL's opening Thursday night game. With that being said, I think the HBCUs can do something like that as far as some of these popular streamers using some of these other streaming services, not having to necessarily secure the TV deal. If you can, with the NCAA, whatever you got to do with them, if you can stream certain games, get high profile top draft picks, guys who are projected to be in the top five to go to these programs, I think you won't have to worry about an incident like this because he showed that he's a conservative. He has his right. Bruce Pearl has his right to lean into being a conservative. I have no issue with that. I take no exception with that. Um, but at the same time, obviously, you're not going to be able to continue to say those type of things and attract the type of recruits that you once attracted. Especially the transfer portal being the way it is, the paperwork isn't as binding over multiple years like it used to be. So yeah, I think we probably, some of the top players should really consider going to, some of these HBCUs, because the NIL deals and everything else. I think maybe you don't get as much up front, but it could be a bigger story in the long run. If imagine, if like AJ DeBance and some of those players was at a HBCU, you know what I'm saying? It would be something to behold. Um, but if you get somebody, a phenomenon like Zion was viewed in high school to play at an HBCU, then you would bring the attention there. And so I always look at these situations when coaches say certain things, like we could have taken some more power in our hands by going to certain institutions. But I digress. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.